Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We got a special one today. I am here in Milwaukee, just sat down a few minutes ago, and I'm with somebody I've been getting to know, Halim Flowers. For those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Roy. I'm a startup investor in the future of work. We're here for another one of your questions about work, and Halim has a story to tell that I think there are some lessons in there for all of us. So Halim is an accredited investor. We met actually at, I think, at an HBCU VC event or Black Founders. Anyway, and he's an artist and just had an NFT drop today. And so the question, Halim, and I'm going to let you tell your story of how you got here, is if I am at a place where I feel like my brand is not what I want it to be to serve my career interests, how can I rebrand myself? That's today's question. And thank you very much for being here with us. I'm going to remove this image of your art, and then we could just talk. So yeah, tell us your story. Tell us your insights on how you rebrand yourself.
Thank you for having me. When I think about the word rebranding, from my personal story, I just think about being branded first. And, being African American, we have a history of being literally branded. So for me, my generation of young boys, we were branded as super predators. And this was a brand that was put on us to discard our humanity, to displace of us from society for the remainder of our lives, even though we were children. So when you have a brand that's put on you as a human being that impacts your entire existence, what do you do with that? So I think the first thing, in making it a general thing when you rebranding in your career, you have to first have the audacity to hope that you can transcend the adversity of the brand, right? And not engage in cognitive dissonance as if it doesn't exist. So for me, it was a process of recognizing, okay, I'm labeled a super predator. So let me take this brand, instead of making it or accepting it as a menace to society who is worthy of being removed from society for the remainder of my life, I'm going to embrace this and transcend it and create a superhero out of a super predator and rebrand it as one who loves unconditionally and preys upon hate. So as an artist and as a writer and a poet, these are the things that I base my entrepreneurship and my career upon. Was first recognizing it, transcending it through redefining it, and emerging from the redefinition as something new. So this is why I always begin with this imagery of I am the super predator, but I am also a accredited investor.
Sure.
Right? And even though this super predator is a brand, right, but what it means to me will define how I move through the world in my career of, artistically sharing my story and my creativity.
I love that. I mean, I feel like there's so many insights I heard in there. I'm just going to replay some of them and then ask you a practical question or two about it. One is the language we use in the working world is so powerful. And that word brand, we use it so much that we don't even think about what the origin of it is. That really, I mean, as you point out, it's traumatic what that action is. And something that was not meant to be done to human beings in its original, usage. We're talking about something that was done to property, to cattle. And so just the fact we use it so casually and that its meaning has evolved is a moment worth really recognizing that a brand in its etymology is an act of violence. So I think that's a powerful thing just in and of itself. And then what I hear you saying is you didn't choose the brand that was put on you. It was put on you by society, by the moment in history where you were at that point in time, and that you chose to take that brand and not run away from it and say, no, that's not me, but to say, yeah, my prey is hate. And so and not to embrace it in the sense of embracing what other people associated with it, but to create your own associations with that brand. And, I think that there's something extremely powerful in working with the forces that we wish didn't exist. And obviously, I can't personally relate, not having been in your shoes. But I think that notion of if you want to rebrand yourself professionally, you're starting with recognizing what the existing brand is and working with its attributes and reversing some of them if you can, as opposed to just some people just shrug it off and ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. And the reality of the world is you can't do that either. And so I'm curious, at what moments along the way, like just what were some of the specific actions you found yourself taking? Because I know you wrote books, plenty of them while you're incarcerated. I'm an owner of one. You started working on your art, but what were some of the moments where you said, beyond the interchange of the hope, what were some of the actions you took that you feel were turning points?
I definitely invested in myself I remember subscribing to the Wall Street Journal and reading the Wall Street Journal every day, waking up in the morning, watching Bloomberg News, watching CNBC. I was sending a message to myself and others that even though I'm in prison, I'm operating like a billionaire. I'm operating like a chief executive officer, a chairman of the board. And the brand of the corporation was me, and I knew that I was taking me public. This before NFTs even existed.
Sure.
And I read a great book by a phenomenal woman named Sheryl Sandberg. And the name of the book was titled Lean In, right? And even though it was talking about this brand that had been put on women to confine them into the prisons of limited thinking men, I was able to apply it to my situation. And I said, instead of me running away from this, I'm going to lean into it, right? All the way. And when you have a brand that's been put upon you, not just in your career, but in your humanity, right? To make you valueless, right? It takes a certain level of what we would say chutzpah to find value in yourself and say, you know what? I'm not going to create these fictional stories like the Connor brothers or Damien Hirst. I'm going to lean into the value in myself. Even if nobody in the world can see it, I can see that it's value in me. And I'm going to take this brand and rebrand it and become a millionaire. And that's what I did.
I mean, first of all, I love the recognition, as a Jew, I love the recognition that there is some bravado to that chutzpah. Right. And obviously, that is, there's a little bit of, kind of willingness. What I hear in there is a willingness to buck the norm. I'm sure that when people looked at you as you were reading the Wall Street Journal or watching Bloomberg TV, they weren't looking at you the same way they were looking at everybody else. They were looking at you as an individual who's willing to do things that other people were not willing to do. And, there's this saying that an Irish friend of mine taught me that he said, the saying, and I think I've said it before on This Is Not Advice, is take the eyes out of your own potato. Meaning if somebody else is seeing something in you that they regard to be a flaw, you're not going to convince them it's not there, but you can directly address it, redefine it and remove it. And I think that is so powerful. I also love the fact that a book like Lean In was inspirational to you, applying it from a different context. So I think those are powerful lessons. I also feel like, there's this other line that I think about a lot. Jeff Bezos, who I have a lot of problems with certain things about Amazon, but he has got to be one of, if not the greatest business geniuses that have ever lived. The namesake of our fund notwithstanding, another one of those geniuses. But Jeff Bezos, or this thing is attributed to him, where he said a brand is like quick drying cement, that you have to keep reinventing it, otherwise it hardens. And so the thing that I see in you is you're involved in a few things that are still unfolding. The story of NFTs is still unfolding. The story of your art is still unfolding. I know you have some creative projects in the work. I don't know if you're talking about them, at all in public, but that feeling that if you're not swimming forward and redefining, you're just hardening. So that's the other lesson that I take from this, is kind of the constant growth and learning. So thank you. Anything else you want to say before we wrap?
Just thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my perspective on rebranding. And I just hope that anyone who's listening to this in their personal capacity and in their work capacity, that they can be encouraged to see the value in themselves and to be able to negotiate your value in any space, whether it's a personal space or a workspace, because we all have innate value.
I love that.
Transcends social constructions.
There is that dignity that we all carry with us. I'm the one who feels grateful because stories like yours are few and far between. And I hope that through your example, there are more of them for those of you who are watching for the first time, the reason we say this is not advice is we're not telling you exactly what you should do with your life. We're telling you what, Halim's sharing his story. I'm sharing my reflections on it. And then ultimately it's up to you to decide. And now I got my favorite coworker. My daughter is here. All right. Well, Halim, thank you. To be continued. Looking forward to more. And come back anytime. All right. That's Misha.